Welcome to Career Essentials, where we give you honest career guidance and beyond. And today we have a very special guest, a TEDx speaker. Welcome, Siobhan.
Hi, Chira. Lovely to see you.
Love to see you too. Thank you very much for joining us. Siobhan's got a special message for us about her Let's Stand program. Let's get straight to it. So Siobhan, tell us all about it.
Well, Chira, first of all, it is really nice to see you in a non-competitive environment because we had just met at a Toastmaster speech contest ago, and that was a really nice encounter. Interesting. Of course, you did beat me on that occasion, but all's forgiven now.
Thank you. Don't take it personally.
But yeah, so Let's Stand. Well, I designed the Let's Stand program a few years ago, and the Let's Stand program, what it is language, communication and public speaking program for young people from age 5 to 18. Now, the Let's in Let's Stand is actually an acronym, and it stands for L for listen, E for evaluate, and T for talk. Now, Chira, as a Toastmaster, you probably recognize that sequence very well: listening, evaluating, and talking. So really what the whole program is about is empowering young people to develop their listening, evaluating, and speaking skills. But key to it really is that this is linked to the curriculum. It's linked to the curriculum here in Ireland for primary schools and secondary schools. And I've also taken a look at curriculum documents in England and other countries too.
Okay, sounds really interesting. So tell us a bit more about this. What is it in a bit more detail, and what made you move on to this? What's the story behind all this?
Well, it's a structured program, and it's a structured approach to teaching public speaking skills, really, because I suppose the idea originated from, like yourself, I'm a Toastmaster. I've been in Toastmasters since 2005. And through Toastmasters, I've been continuously involved in developing my own communication and leadership skills. But through Toastmasters over the years, I would have seen many highly competent, highly qualified individuals come through the doors of Toastmasters and struggle at first when it came to standing up and doing something like their icebreaker, introducing themselves first to an audience. And I still remember the night when I was watching that happen to one member. And bearing in mind, Toastmasters creates a safe, supportive environment for people to do that. I kind of had a light bulb moment, but why is that happening? Were these skills never taught at school? And could my children, could my students actually master these skills if I, as a teacher, provided that training and gave them the opportunities for practice? And a part of me knew, because I've been teaching for 28 years, I knew for sure that my students could if I gave them the opportunity. And I suppose part of that, Chira, is I began my teaching career 28 years ago in a private school. And in that school, priority and focus was given to improving students' speaking skills. And now, 28 years later, a lot of the students from that school, they hold prominent positions in politics as CEOs of companies. They have very competent and charismatic leadership skills, and I'm really delighted for them. But today I teach in a JESH school, it's called in Ireland. What that means is it's delivering equality of opportunity to people who come from diverse backgrounds and maybe lower socioeconomic backgrounds. And I know when I look at my students today that they are as capable of achieving what the students in the private school achieved if I give them the training and the opportunities. So that's what started all of that. And I suppose personally, you know, I'm a very shy person myself. I was a really painfully shy child, I'd say. and now quite a shy adult. But I think having been given the opportunity in secondary, accidentally, it happened accidentally, not deliberately, but having the opportunity to develop my own public speaking skills through debating, I saw firsthand the impact that has had on my whole life. I wouldn't be a teacher today. I wouldn't be a principal. I don't know, would I be in Toastmasters? Maybe I'd have to. There'd be more of a need for me to go. I don't know, but it's kind of, I suppose the motivation was personal and professional, the program. And when I thought about trying to my own students in these skills, I looked for a program and couldn't find one. I Googled far and wide, and I just knew it had to be a structured approach that would explicitly teach and develop those skills. So I couldn't find one. So then I thought, well, look, I'm not giving up. I'll design one myself. And that's what's happened.
Wow, sounds fantastic. Sounds like you've got a very good why there. You've got a very strong reason to build something of your own. You know, if is that saying, be the change that you want to see in the world. I think it was by Mahatma Gandhi, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, that sounds very interesting, Siobhan. It sounds like you've had your journey, and sometimes you go through these situations, we go through these sort of valleys of growth, only to come out of the other side to then teach it to people and give back to people who need it. And sometimes that may well be our purpose, and that's part of the reason why I do what I do with Career Essentials, because I wish someone told me about these things with regards to personal development, life, or even fundamental career guidance, honest career guidance without any agenda. And sounds like we're on the same wavelength there in terms of giving back to people. So yeah. So in terms of your personal story and why you've done this, what else would you like to share with your Let's Stand program?
Well, you see, I've spoken to a lot of teachers about this here in Ireland and in other countries as well, because at present I've almost completed my PhD on the topic of public speaking in the primary school curriculum. And so I've spoken to a lot of people directly and through interviews and through surveys. And one thing that I'm hearing again and again is that teachers may not feel confident to train their students. They almost unanimously, they all acknowledge the importance of these skills, because as we move through life, we've all seen that we've all had to attend interviews. In Ireland, we have oral exams in various different languages in secondary school. We know that these skills are important for building friendships, for different social occasions. There's so many times in life when we'll be called on to speak in public. So teachers recognize that, and they acknowledge that the skills are important. But this is possibly one thing on the curriculum that we are expecting them to train their students in and to teach without themselves receiving the training first. Because I know what the situation was like when I was growing up in Ireland. I wasn't given the opportunity. I wasn't given the training. Like I said, I accidentally fell into debating in secondary school. And the only reason I made it onto the team, I think, was because I was reasonably good academically. And my siblings ahead of me, who were probably louder, had been on teams. So it was just a given. But that opportunity was given to 5 or less in my year of 80. What about the other people? What was that saying about them, that they wouldn't need these skills? And to me, there's so many aspects. The program is about developing listening, evaluating, and speaking skills. But there are lots of other skills that it almost incidentally develops as well, like empathy. But one area that I've definitely potential for it to greatly impact is social equity. If I'm teaching in a school where a lot of our students come from areas that are seriously challenged, and what I want them to be able to do when they leave education is to be able to stand up for themselves, for their families, for their communities. Because one thing that I continuously tell my students is everybody has something to say. And what you have to say matters. Nobody else can represent what you want to say exactly in the same way you can. And we've seen this so many times here at school, because we've really embedded the program now in everything that we do in the school. Our students, they lead assembly. So in the place of me or the teachers, they lead assembly. And also what we would have seen is at graduation, at the 6th class graduation every year, rather than me or another teacher standing up to talk about the student, they deliver their own graduation speech. Now, the title of the graduation speech is the same for every student. It's My Memories of Primary School and What Moving On to Secondary School Means to Me. Now, the students, they could spend almost a month preparing for this, and it's become a kind of part of the ritual almost of the school now. But no two speeches will ever be the same. They can have the same title, they can follow a similar structure perhaps, but they will never be the same because every individual's experience is so different. So, that's, I suppose, that's the key message, is that, if you don't tell your story, tell it for you. And Let's Stand is a resource that I've designed so that it will equip students with the skills that they will need to be able to confidently tell their story in a way that anybody will listen.
Right, right. Powerful stuff there. I think from my experience, when it comes to your ability to communicate, your ability to speak, one of the most important things for me is your ability to articulate your thoughts and express them. And I personally find it actually quite liberating to just express yourself without having to worry about anything, without having to worry about how you're expressing. It's just a case of just expressing and letting it out, and that gives you an immense amount of confidence. And to know that you then go through a process where you're giving feedback and say, you could have tried it this way or tried this way, so try it a different way, and then you try that, and then you can see for yourself the difference in the articulation of your thoughts, or even just the confidence in your delivery. And consequently, you get that overspill effect, which just goes on to other aspects of life. So if you're struggling with something, whatever that is, you can just sort of compartmentalize that for a moment and then try something like public speaking or anything else for that matter. But particularly in public speaking, where especially people in Toastmasters, where we're all there because we shied away from it, or we struggled on stage, we were nervous. And when you go through that process to then know that you went from point A to B, from place of shy to be confident, you just once you get that reference point or reference experience, you just have that overspill effect onto other aspects of life, and that's going to just have a massive impact. And you just become more confident as a person in general. And for you to be doing that for children and kids, you're just hitting them right when they need it the most, and at the point when they're just learning so much, because the older they are, the more difficult anyone's going to be to change their sort of way of thinking. But the younger they are, the better it is and more effective it is. I'm sure what you're doing has massive impacts on the students, on the children and kids.
Well, that's what I would have observed so far, Chair. It's like you say, we know as teachers, and I suppose most adults would know this, that skills are best learned younger, and they're learned quicker younger. And I suppose when we look at children as well, there's also the point that they haven't inherited or acquired the inhibitions that adults. And like we're constantly told public speaking is one of the most pervasive and prevalent fears across the world. Well, what are we doing about that? And what are we doing about that for our next generation of leaders? Are we doing anything? And I think by getting in there younger, it's definitely making an impact when it matters most. And I have to say, this isn't something new to the curriculum. Speaking and listening skills are on the curriculum. But I suppose what is key is, are they being taught explicitly or in a structured way? Because we know as Toastmasters, I think one of the things that makes the whole Toastmaster approach so successful is because it's very structured. It's very structured. We all know the process. And even the notion of evaluating. Okay, we easily understand the listening. We easily understand, relatively easily maybe, understand the speaking, but then the evaluating. Now, this is where really meaningful and deep learning happens, because to be able to receive evaluation is an absolute privilege about a speech that you've made. Then to be able to give it as well to somebody else, so there's that reciprocal relationship going on, and there's the development in tandem kind of all those skills. But then what's really key is to be able to apply the evaluation that you've got. Because why will you apply it? To keep improving, and you improve step by step, little by little. And that's how the whole structured approach works. Teachers who might be a little bit mightn't feel so confident about training their own students, what I find interesting and what I would say to them is, what do you do every day as a teacher? You stand in front of a class, you're using all the skills of public speaking. All you have to do is maybe draw the students' attention to where and how you're using eye contact, gestures, facial expressions, stories. You know, we have these tools and techniques as teachers to draw our learners in, much in the same way as we as speakers use these tactics, I suppose, to draw our audience in.
Yes, yes. Yeah, definitely. I can see how it'll help massively. So what would you like to say? What is the consequence of if this didn't happen? If we do not include this into the curriculum, if we do not tell this to the children or future leaders, the next generation, what would be the consequence of it?
Well, there's a few things that concern me. Like I said again, it's not new, because speaking and listening skills are on the curriculum. What is relatively new is the idea of training, explicit training, and taking every opportunity that's already there to give them to the students to develop the skills. But what really concerns me is the fact that I don't think that our children's communication skills today are what they used to be, because of various different factors. Now, I'm not technophobe or anything like that, but I do know that children are a lot more immersed in screens and technology. And I, as a teacher, have seen an impact on their communication skills than at school, because my own communication skills also developed quite naturally because I was the middle child of 7 children. But now families are smaller, so there's the influence of technology. These skills are not going to develop naturally. They might for some children, but we shouldn't leave it to chance. And I also think about how it can perpetuate, in a way, social inequity if we don't do something about this. So how can we stand by and let politicians who have never experienced the kind of lives, difficulties, challenges that some of our students have say that they are representing them?
Yeah.
That my students feel empowered to represent themselves. I think that would be a lot more authentic and real. And I suppose also, you know, in terms of what we see happening in the world today, it makes me constantly think, am I doing enough to equip my students with the skills, the self-belief, the self-efficacy, to be able to know and feel at a deep level that what they feel and who they are and what they have to say really, really matters? Will they be equipped when they leave school to go out into the world and stand up for and speak out about what they believe in? And I think this is where true power lies. You know, there's an expression that's come to me. If you can speak well, you can influence. And if you can influence, you can change lives. your own and others. And I suppose that ties back into your lovely Gandhi quote earlier on.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Very fitting stuff there. So, right, tell us tell us about your TEDx talk. You know, you mentioned about, you know, the fear of public speaking, and you talk about the journey and the impact. Just give us a little insight on the TEDx talk that you gave.
Yeah, so I suppose that was always one of my dreams, to speak at TEDx, and I'm so grateful to have had it, because definitely this is what I'm most passionate about. But I suppose part of this journey as well in creating this program has been because our own school had been in self-evaluation, which all schools everywhere are expected to do. And at that time, we had identified oral language as an area in great need. So we had to shine a closer light on it, and take a closer look. So that's where a lot of that happened. And in that speech, you know, I talk about how, and I would have observed this over the years, how when students, small children, come to school first, they have no problem talking. It's actually a strength of theirs. What becomes a bit of a challenge to stop talking. And I suppose traditionally in many schools, that phrase, even stop talking, may have been used a lot by different teachers. But my own son, he opened my eyes in relation to that one day, because he came home and he was flabbergasted by the fact that there had been so many things he couldn't do at school because he was so small. He couldn't play football with the big kids. He couldn't read in spite of having been at school for 2 days, and he was a bit with himself. But then he said, and then one of the teachers told me to stop, and it's like talking is the only thing I can do. So I thought, you know, yeah, why exactly do we say that? And I kind of know why we say it sometimes, because you can't have everybody talking at the same time in the classroom. But at the same time, I thought maybe, you know, the messages that we're intending are not what's picked up. Well, it kind of made me think how our students have so many strengths at that stage that we can build on in relation to public speaking. Like even the whole thing of being able to analyze and consider your audience. Some people have said to me, are you sure they could do that at that age? Well, have you ever had a 5 or 6 year old come to you and ask you for something that they really, really, really want? And they start using their puppy dog eyes at you, and they slow down so that you completely understand what they're saying. So when they're doing all of that, they have analyzed you as the audience. Of course, if they're taught how, you can apply that same skill to when you're standing up in front of a larger audience. And what these younger children want and need and crave at that stage is the attention of an audience, which most adults is what completely freaks them out. So this is such an opportune time to start. And I think if we start at this stage, you know, the program and the whole process of it are relatively simple. It's just a structure. It's a simple structure. Bring their own ideas, their own learning, their own topics that are taken from the curriculum, but topics that they are deeply and genuinely interested in. They bring their own topics to it. But if we do it, then I think that the potential is limitless. And when you think about it, when you're thinking, writing, talking, which one of those do we spend most of our time in life beyond school doing? Really, let's be honest.
That's a good point there. That's a good point. I think we spend far more time we should spend time on writing and reading. That's absolutely critical, but there's far less attention given to speaking and the expression of thoughts. And I think even as a child, you love the attention, you crave for the attention. And I think as adults, deep down inside, what we all crave for is the same attention. And we've just been sort of restricted and limited with what society is saying and all these sort of things that are put on us. So I think even as adults, that's what we crave. We crave for attention.
Yeah.
So where can people find you, Siobhan? What's the best way to contact
Well,
you, and your where do they have access to your programs if that's the case?
yeah, well, it's quite simple. I suppose the best place is just go directly to my website, which is letsstand.ie. And from there they'll be able to contact me directly. And while I have a product and a program that is commercial and is available to schools, at the same time, what I enjoy most is being able to connect and encourage individual teachers and being able to support in any way I can, because I suppose my ultimate aim, which is quite a big vision, but is to have this opportunity and this training available to every child from every background. Children should not have to pay privately to avail of training in these skills. I don't think so. Not in today's world. There's a quotation coming to me from, it was a history class I had. I remember primary school. We had an Irish politician. They said his name was Big Jim Larkin, and he famously said, "The great appear great because we are on our knees. Let us arise." And I would say the great appear great because they have been given the training in public speaking and the many opportunities to practice. Let's give that opportunity to all of our children. I think we owe it to them.
Wow, wow. Powerful stuff there. Love that. That was a nice cherry on top of the icing. Absolutely loved it.
But
Fantastic. What I will do is I will leave links on the comments on the description below, where you can get access to Siobhan and her content, her website, and also leave a link to Siobhan's TEDx speech. By do all means check that out. Get connected. Get in touch. See how we can all impact the world in a better place. Is there anything you'd like to say to wrap up before we wrap things up, Siobhan?
well, Chair, it's been a pleasure, and thank you for giving me the opportunity. It's been a pleasure to connect with you again. And I'm just thinking, could I ask you one question, Chair, please? Would
By
you
all
mind?
means.
So, Chair, I know you have a vast amount of experience and expertise in the area of supporting people through career choices and preparing them for interviews and various different things. So can I just take this opportunity to ask you, how essential do you think the skills of communication skills and public speaking skills are in terms of career essentials? Are they career essentials for everybody?
I would say absolutely yes, because like I said before, your ability to articulate your thoughts and express them is going to be one of the most liberating and powerful things that you have the access to tap into. You just got to tap into it and express yourself. And once you do, you can see how it applies for job interviews, any forms of training, any sort of you're always communicating, even in a work environment. You're talking with suppliers, you're talking with customers, you're talking with clients. You're constantly communicating, and you can see that spill over even onto your emails and any content that you write and things like that. So if there's one skill that you can apply to any career field, that is communication. So I think that's such a critical thing for your career development as well. And it's a very convenient thing to tap into. It seems like an overwhelming thing, but it's actually a very convenient thing to tap into. It's not like you've got to do a degree in communication skills or public speaking skills. It's a case of practicing. It's a bit like driving. So I can tell you how to drive in 5 minutes, but it's going to take you hours and hours in practice. But once you do know how to drive, you know how to drive. So once you pick that up with a bit of practice up there, then you will see for yourself how that's going to impact so many aspects of your life, from relationships to day-to-day communications to social skills, and handling all kinds of situations, and your ability to improvise. It's such a phenomenal skill to develop, and you'll always be developing that. So I've told myself, you know, a Toastmaster for life, or at least continuous improvement for life. You know, that's
Mm.
certainly something that I would uh, like to mention with regards to the question, Siobhan. Thank you very much. So, like I said, thank you very much for joining us, Siobhan. It's been an
Well,
absolute pleasure. I will leave leave on the description below where you can connect with Siobhan, where you can find her content, where you can find her TEDx speech. Check them out. There's amazing things you're going to learn from them. This is Career Essentials, where we give you honest career guidance and beyond. Just remember, you are amazing. See you on another video soon.